your lawn, but if you ever harvested and looked up under it, there'd be these grub worms just eating the roots off of it. And so we try not to overseed unless it's real important. If the customer wants overseed, we'll do it, but we always recommend that they be, around June or July, kind of dig around it and see if you have any grub worm problems.
Good to know.
Okay, Dad. So it's 6:02. Okay, so you guys, just so you know, we have a protocol. We always kind of cut up at least till 2 minutes until start. So we've officially entered our start time. And Dad, you've got a couple people on the panel. You got us on as a panelist, but you've got a couple attendees. Of course, you've got Michael, who you've been speaking with from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
You've got Brian, who is the kind of the founder and starter of Zoysia Life Facebook group, who I have been talking back and forth with. And then you've got Crystal Dodd and Michael Perez. So we have a couple people on the call today, or the webinar. And just to kind of let everybody know, I have allowed everyone to talk. It's this nice, small, intimate group. That's what I kind of like about these webinars, is for those that wait around for the recording, they don't get the chance to interact. And we let this kind of happen in a couple of ways. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself and talk, just like Michael's doing. Or you can just go and hit your bar and hit a chat, and we have some open and discussed chat off to the side. So you're more than welcome to do either way. We have allowed 6 to 7:30. You guys might say, okay, y'all, we've had enough at 7 o'clock and we're on Easter time. We're ready to go to bed. But we'll be here till 7:30. I think people are coming in and out during the night. But Brian, I think you should have a chance to kind of step up and say anything you want to say and kind of kick us off, Brian.
Cool. Thank you so much. Y'all can hear me, I hope. I'm muting myself. But yeah, so I started Zoysia Life, and we have just been growing. I think it's been about a year since I started the group, and I think we hit about 750 members this past month. But I got to speak with Christina and George last year, and I was just amazed at the amount of knowledge that the two of them have and the love for Zoysia. So I'm just so happy to be able to bring both of them to the group and offer us a nice time to really talk about soil testing, amendments to go off of those soil tests, and also just taking care of the Zoysia. One of the reasons I started the group is that there's just not a lot of great information out there, or it's really scattered. So this is truly a blessing to have two experts who have lived the Zoysia life, so to speak, for their entire lives. So thank you so much for being partners with us, and we're excited about this partnership and having you all on today.
Great, Brian. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. I think you asked some questions last week or so about some mold in your Zoysia.
Oh yeah, I was getting
moss.
some
Moss, right?
Yeah, some moss.
I'm sorry, that's right, moss. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's still wet. We're getting all types of rain now, and it's a mess out here.
Now, Brian, are you in the Virginia area? Is that where you are?
Yeah, I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, so we've got Michael, who's in Washington. And if anybody else wants to share where they are, feel free to unmute and just participate in the conversation. We want things to be very free flow. I did, of course, provide a presentation deck, and we can kind of go through that a little bit. I need to put out a disclaimer. So we're really excited. This is kind of our later in the evening webinars. I do have a confession. I have 4 young children, and 3 dogs, all of which are currently in this household with me. And they've all been told to be on their best behavior, because I think it's really exciting. We're doing a webinar late in the evening. However, if one of my dogs decide to climb up and begin hopping around the table right now, I have a pretty young puppy who might be participating in the webinar night. So expect anything from my side. But one thing Dad and I like to do in our webinars is we like to banter back and forth. For instance, tomorrow I will be taking him to the farm. I can maybe see now that it's St. Augustine coming out of dormancy, but we were fighting back and forth yesterday as I had a homeschool group at the farm, and he was calling me out that it was St. Augustine, and I could just bear down on the fact that I thought it was Palisade zoysia. So we like to kind of argue back and forth a little bit, make it really fun. So feel free to participate and go back and forth. But Brian, if you're okay, I'll kind of show a few points on the presentation deck, but then kind of make it open for discussion. Does that sound great?
Christina, can I just say one thing to Brian for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Brian, I think you probably, with you kind of heading this up with Zoysia Life, if you go to NTEP, NTEP, which is a group of colleges in the Southeast, from Texas to North Carolina to South Florida, that is doing a lot of breeding of different grasses. And in their NTEP trials that they've published now from 2014 to 2017, and they have an enormous amount of information of the breed stock of zoysias that's coming down the line that they'll be introducing out nationwide. The 2017, they'll take certain selections and they put those selections all across the Southeast to see, because every area has a different microclimate of some sort, and which ones stood up to be the best and longest term. And if you want to take a look at that, it has Bermuda, it has your cold type grasses, your fescues and stuff. There's different reports on that, but your southern grasses, it's very in-depth research, and it's really an interesting read if you have time.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to seeing about that. It's really cool how all these different varieties of zoysia keep coming out, and they just enhance it and make it better, and especially to region. That's really awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot coming, and it's good because we don't want to use near as much fertilizers and insecticides and fungicides, and so they're really putting a lot of breeding into it. I haven't seen much for GMO yet, but they're just doing a lot of old-fashioned cross-pollinations and stuff. So it's very interesting work. And the professors that are involved in it are just really great people. They're working with all the different groups of people to help get the right variety for you. So with that, I'll get out of your way and let you go for it.
No, I think anytime we have any kind of agriculture discussion, we always need to be aware of what R&D is going on out there and what, land grant universities are studying, what they're finding, and bringing that to an open discussion. So yeah, for sure, pass that on, Dad. I know that'd be a good one to have. All right, so here we go. Oh, well, here's the fun part. So of course, you have a chance to get all your lawn and garden questions answered. All right, so here's the fun picture. So this to the left, this is Dad. As you guys know, George Woerner is the CEO of Woerner Farms, and his family has been farming for over 100 years. With generations of farming expertise, George Woerner has grown Woerner Farms to be one of the nation's leading sod farm producers. And I'll go into another slide. I'll tell them about how many locations you have, Dad. There to the right is me. And I am number 2 in line. Dad and Mom had 4 kids. I'm the second. And I am currently, my role is serving as the CEO of Agritech Corp, which is primarily running Soil Kit. I'm a 5th generation farmer. My job is, I saw Dad working tirelessly 6 days a week to produce this beautiful sod, and then do soil samples and really nurture beautiful lawn, and would give it to the homeowner, and the homeowner would not be doing a soil sample, did not know how to take care of their lawn. And to be honest with you, the information out there is very fragmented and hard to find. And there's a lot of theories and different so forth. So finding the right source for the information. But what's staggering is that over 70% of homeowners are dissatisfied with their lawn or garden. And to be honest with you, it starts with healthy soil. It's probably one of the most important things you're going to do is your annual soil sample. In the back, you'll see my mom and my 3 other siblings, 2 of which are my sister, and the 3rd is my brother. Angela now actually works in the bookkeeping at Woerner Farms. Alan serves a lot with the farm side of the Woerner Farms, is also an owner. And Kimberly, my sister, decided to dive off the family business, and she builds hospitals and projects for Brassford and Gorey and opened their Greenville, South Carolina operation. So she's a talented builder. She did not come back to the agriculture company, but all of us did. Now, this strawberry farm that we're farming is right here behind our homestead. This is where we grew up. And this is actually my mom's garden. We would have to go do this. And then mom would let us pick all the strawberries and make us a strawberry shortcake at night. So I'm very familiar with not only lawns, but my mom was a farmer and she had an extensive garden. So when anything needs to be answered about gardens, I have a little bit of knowledge from mom on that. And I'm a bicentennial member. So, and Soil Kit is a product of Agritech, and we are a majority woman-owned business. And Woerner Farms, the slogan is farming since 1915. Woerner.com and WoernerLandscape.com are the 2 domains there. And of course, soilkit.com. Let's see, making sure you can see this correctly. This is Dad right here. Dad, I think that was a centipede field, right? That was back in the 80s. Centipede, right?
Yeah, it could have been, yes.
Yeah, so that's,
we must not have had color back in them days, it was black and white.
well, it's not black
Could have
and
been in
white.
the middle of winter or something.
Yeah, I think it kind of has that vintage layer over it. It kind of has that bronze look to it.
Yeah.
And here's Dad's kind of quote. He basically said, and for those who are wondering, yes, I helped write it for him, so he looks really, really good with words. I've spent a lifetime of farming and instructing homeowners on how to have a healthy lawn or crop. I found the only way to achieve this is to start with premium crops and healthy soils. Woerner Farms produces highest quality turf grass in the US, and now Soil Kit empowers the homeowner and landscaper with a soil sample that provides accurate and professional scientific results. You need to dig underneath to learn your soil story. So there's Dad. So funny story about this little irrigation. Dad, what do you call this irrigation system?
That was a soft hose, and it was like a tricycle irrigation thing. And that soft hose would connect about 700, 800 feet away into a hard aluminum pipe that we would move around. And there was a cable that drug that hard hose. That was hard work. It was like push mowing your lawns and everything. It was you earn your keep with that thing.
So was that the one that I run over with the 3-wheeler that began to like inch up, and then you whooped the stew out of me because I was going to damage the irrigation that night?
Well, you might have ran over the aluminum pipe or something, but that hose is flexible, but if you hit it, it'll knock a hole in it, and it'll spray out at you at 100 pounds of pressure.
So I went and took my cousin's 3-wheeler, and I got it caught. If you can picture like a 3-wheeler, I got it caught on that irrigation. It started winding it up, and I don't think I have ever been whooped so hard on that night. Oh, it was pretty rough. So modern day, we now have beautiful center pivots. This is the Clarksville farm. And for the record, we will both agree that this one's actually a Palisade Zoysia field. The sun's coming up. Interesting story about the Clarksville farm here for those that are kind of in the different part of the country. This is where Hurricane Michael registered a Cat 5, and the eye physically went over this farm as it came inland to the Florida Panhandle. This farm sustained a direct hit to a Cat 5 hurricane. And for the state of Alabama, for the United States, that's a huge deal to have an eye go over you at that. So we have pictures of that, and that is a beautiful farm. First thing that everyone went out there to do is take care of all the staff, make sure we got out there for everybody and their pets, and then pick up those center pivots out there at the farm and get back to growing again. So beautiful farm. Dad, do you want to share with everyone where your farms are and what different grass varieties you grow on each one of those farms?
We just opened a farm east of Gainesville, a little town called Bronson. We have about 500 acres of turf grass there, St. Augustine. We have some of the new Bermuda that's come out from University of Georgia, called Tiff Tuff. Uses a lot less water and it's genetically dark green. It's a very superior grass. We have Palisade Zoysia, and we have our own variety of St. Augustine that we trace back over 100 years that was here in Baldwin County. That we got froze out real bad in the 80s and it didn't die and so we planted it. We have a farm north of Panama City where this one hit. This is about 30 miles off the coast. And needless to say, when the storm went across it, it leveled everything that could be leveled. The forest behind you there is gone. It was wiped out in that picture. So you could see it today and it'll just be broken trees and down. So from there, we are where we've always been. It's here between Pensacola and Mobile. We was part of a German settlement back in the 1890s to the early 1900s. And that's where we settled here in Baldwin County. And then we have a farm in Colorado. It's northeast of Denver. We have a retail center there in Brighton. We have a joint venture in Hawaii. And we've got about 100 acres of land that we own in Hawaii. And we have a cacao plantation there, which is the chocolate. We have 40 acres of turf grass that we grow on recycled landscaping. It's organic soil that they mulch. Everybody saves all their clippings and stuff and the yard trim. They grind it and create soil out of it. And we have done probably 98% of all the golf courses in Hawaii. It was a company we bought in the mid 90s and they had been there for many, many decades before that. And so we have also retail centers or distribution centers, one in Gulfport, Mississippi, one in Pensacola, Florida, one in Birmingham, Alabama, one in Fort Walton. And we just purchased some land in Panama City that with Michael wiping it out, there's going to be a lot of rebuild for the next 20 years there. And we bought some land and we're putting in a center there. We do turf grass, hardscapes, and what we try to focus on outdoor living. And we want to supply the landscapers and the homeowners the latest technology, the latest varieties, and kind of where everything's going. So we actually help people have a more affordable lawn with a higher value. 80% of a sale is first appearance. And when if you was going to sell your house, when you drive in the yard, that appearance right there, 80% of that decision is going to be made right then and there. That's the same thing with a car, a boat, a house, anything. That's just, and it's environmentally. When I was a child, we used to go to Pensacola delivering eggs. We grew, my dad had chickens, and we would every Saturday we'd go handle every route, and we deliver eggs. And at one time I seen them, they were out there raking the dirt in their yard every Saturday. That was their lawn. And the other few that did, they taught me a trick on growing grass. I mean, it's something that's been used for 50, 60 years, and that's putting a light coat of sand across your lawn every year, every couple of years, put a quarter of an inch or a half inch, and it just does wonders about healing your lawn and helping all the thatch and the clippings to decompose. It just does miracles. It's the strangest thing. It gives brand new life to your lawn, just covering it with sand. A lot of your golf courses do that on your putting greens. You'll see them sanding them, and it's the same concept for your lawn.
Okay, a couple things, Dad. You missed that you have a distribution center in Brighton. And, as you're talking about kind of healing the zoysia and adding that thin layer of white, pure sand, I get that quite a bit and on your different social channels. You have thousands of followers between your farms and stores, and a lot of homeowners will chatter. And I'll ask you this, Brian, what is kind of something you see? And I actually have gotten an email from one of your groups, but what are some questions, popular things that keep coming up? I watch it, but I'd like for you to kind of speak up. What are they wanting? What do they keep saying over and over again?
Yeah, I actually got in a question. Someone messaged me. They weren't able to join the webinar tonight, but they did have a question about sanding and leveling lawns, kind of related to that. So their question was, when's the best time of year to do that? When it's dormant or when it's actively growing, just coming out of dormancy? And then they asked about the sand. So he said it's white sand. So that answers part of their question, but that's one of them. And I have some additional ones that I could talk to you about as well, Christina.
Okay.
I would think the best time to do is down here in the wintertime, we're not fully dormant a lot of times, what you're saying, Augustine stuff. We're 50% dormant, and that's fine during the winter. When it's completely dormant, I would prefer that you wait till spring when it starts to green up and come out, because that plant, I don't know how they've been taking care of the lawn, and if there's enough carbohydrates stored up in the plant. Now, if there's plenty of carbohydrates, you can do it year round. But the reason I say white sand is because you're not putting a sand with clay, and you're not putting a sand that has weed seed in it. And so what we do is there's a lot of pits around here that pull the water sand up, and there's no weed seed or nothing. It's pure. And so when they put it out, they don't end up infesting their lawn with other sands. But sand I rate that at close to the top of really helping a lawn homeowner being their lawn, keeping it healthy.
And while we've got it, P. Goodson asked Dad, and feel free at any time, chime in, Goodson. I see your question. Where in Birmingham, Alabama are you located, Dad?
We're out on 280. I don't have the exact location. If you know where that Superior Mexican Grill was, it used to be the old Pike store. We're right behind the Superior Grill. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have hardscapes there. We have a lot of plants and trees, shrubbery. We'll have turf grass there. It's really a great place to go see, and you can get a good concept of whatever you're looking for there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. Do you know where that Superior Grill is?
Yes, sir. I know exactly where it is now.
Yeah, everybody's been there. Everybody's been there.
Now,
all right.
I'm a big Zoysia fan here. I got Z52 Zoysia. Is established lawn since 1965. Yes. And I've been looking all over YouTube. I hear some people talk about Zoysia, but till I found your channel, man, you just give me I have the utmost respect with your knowledge, because I've been looking for anybody who's can concentrate on Zoysia. Everybody here is Bermuda. Sure is, but I love Zoysia, and I thank you for putting up this link.
Yeah, and there's Scott and Jim. Both of them, at least one of them will be there, and they're top-notch people. They just great staff, and you can tell them you've talked with us on the Zoysia channel.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Mr. Goodson, yours now. Don't give Dad credit for all this Zoysia knowledge on Zoysia Life. That's Brian. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't even know what you were looking at
Mr.
the other day.
I'm sorry, Mr. Brian.
Oh, good. We share it all. Share love.
Yeah. All right.
So, Mr. Goodson, you live in Birmingham, Alabama, then?
Yes, I'm over here in the Irondale, Trustville area.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and I've been in my home for 21 years, and I get compliments, but I know I could do better. I just can't get my pH above 5.8 for some reason. I keep adding lime every fall. It'll get at 6, but it'll drop back down because the clay soil here is acidic, and
Yeah.
Sometimes my Zoysia thins out on my driveway side, and it's got a little slight grade, but I just don't know why it thins out in a certain area, like the heavy rain we had last night. I get back up in the morning, and I just hate it. I hate it because it just thins me out for some reason. I don't know why.
That don't make sense. I mean, sometimes, especially right now, it shouldn't be thinning out because of a rain, unless it's just washing some of the clippings that was there, filling in some of the ground space. It's probably it. How deep are you taking your soil sample? You going about 2 to 3 inches?
I go down 3 to 4 inches.
Okay, all right.
Matter of fact, you all would be getting some of my soil samples. I purchased some of your soil samples last week.
Well, and then Mr. Goodson, you're going to find out that my sweet spot for Zoysia is 5.8. I don't want you much higher than that.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Oh, okay then. Well, I'm gonna stick with that because that's what my latest 6 months ago was 5.8. 3 months ago was 5.7. So okay, I'm gonna stick with that then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a closer look at your phosphorus and your potassium, but then, if you're on any kind of grade, that always kind of takes into account why there's an issue.
Yes,
if there's a slope on that. But the good thing about you is I'm trying to figure out how to silence my text messages, and I've done it 500 times. I can't figure out how to
make sure that you got your minor elements correct too. He might could use some that's a unique soil up there. Just making sure that if you have too much of any kind of one metals, then one will offset the other. So the good soil sample, will tell you what to do, and then put some fertilizer on it, or slow release fertilizer. Boy, that Z52 should do good. Now, one thing that we've noticed that this past year, and you need to check it now, I've seen bill bugs. There's a big outbreak of bill bugs in the state of Alabama, and there's in South Alabama and South Florida, they're having a huge breakout of mole crickets. But right now, I think your thinning out could be bill bugs. It is in the fall, we're just having outbreaks at strange times of the year now.
Well, this past August of 2020, late summer, I sprayed some iron, and maybe 3-4 weeks later, I was raking up grass on the driveway side, not the whole yard, but that's the area I had sprayed this iron and humic, and I think I mixed them together, and I think I should have done that. But man, this past fall and this early winter, I raked up like 5 bags of dead grass. And this started in August. It started in late August last year, and it's never happened before.
Yeah, I think you might have had some bill bugs or something. I think that there's more going on there.
Yes, sir.
And one thing, you don't let it ever get too tall. If you need a mow, go mow over about 1/3 of your leaf at a time.
Yes, sir.
Because that part breaks down. Once you get below that leaf has got a lot of silica in it, and then it creates a thatch that just won't decay. I bet if you raked it up and put a little sand on it, but I would be checking for bill bugs. I'd get down on my hands and knees and scrape around and look. I think there's more going on there.
Now the height wise, is it 1.5? I never went over 2 inches. Is 2 inches too high?
No, it's not too high. It's not too high. No, you're fine. I just didn't know if you went on vacation, come back a month later and sprayed it, but no, 2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, you're fine.
Yes, sir.
So another thing also, Mr. Goodson, so Jim and Scott are out there in Birmingham right off 280. They're great. But Dad actually has a Zoysia fertilizer that he especially blended for Zoysia.
Okay.
It has a nice little sweet polyon coating on it. And
yes,
so consider that also for April 15th when it's time to put out the fertilizer. If that's when
it's a slow release, and don't put it all at one time.
Yes, sir.
And it'll give you 60-90 days of just slow release, and that's a better way of doing it than just hitting a big shot and then running, But your iron and sulfur, your humic acid, and all that, you're doing a lot of good things. I mean, if you're using humic acid stuff,
yes,
these are all good things.
But, you know, we can also take a look at your organic matter. If we started measuring that, did you purchase the soil kit? So we'll be able to get soil kit results?
The soil kits from you all?
Yes.
Yes, I have them right here. I'm just waiting on my ground to kind of drain some of the water out of it before I start taking samples and sending it to you.
Perfect. I started measuring for the organic matter, and I can take a look at that also behind the scenes, and I'll report it in the report, but that also means a lot too.
Yes, but the way you do your soil, is it different from these people that send this little resin and you put some soil in this resin and you mail it back to them? Because I hear a lot of pros and cons about this resin type soil kit that my soil.
So let me tell you this. So I am just a big believer and I do what the farmers do. And so I have used other products and I know which one you're talking about. And Dad taught me a very valuable lesson a long time ago. You never push someone else down to lift yourself up.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So I'll let them be them. And Soil Kit is going to be science-based with Waters Ag Lab, as well as I consult all the time Auburn University in the experts there.
I used them one time and they gave me some details that this other company didn't give me. And I said, I should have stuck with all.
Yeah.
They have
You
the
actually had,
yeah.
You had an agricultural lab, and that's all we used with Soil Kit. I mean, I directed my daughter straight to where all the farmers and everybody is using this, just science basis. You know, it's not a quick, cheap sale to somebody. We're trying to really help people in a science way.
Yes, sir.
Stand by. I think within a couple months, you're actually going to be able to integrate with Alabama. You'll be able to integrate with the extension office. We love the extension officers. We love our land grant. We love Auburn. And it's our priority to help you plug in with those type of agriculture extension offices, land grant. So yeah, I have to tell you, moving away from Auburn was probably a mistake. You probably should have stayed put. However, we appreciate.
Yeah, I learned my lesson.
we appreciate you, and we will help integrate you back with Auburn and their extension officers. And we will provide all of the information with MyLake 3. We use MyLake 3 or MyLake 1.
Yes,
MyLake 1 is used a lot in Alabama also. It's kind of one of those constant debates of MyLake 1, MyLake 3, and then the different black belt that occurs in the state there with the different zip codes. So, yeah. Oh, look, Michael Perez is War Eagle. So you get it. You get it. So I'm not going to put another competitor down. They can be who they are, but you gotta stick with what the farmers do. And you're right. Auburn is known as being an ag lab. So if you're in a state, feel free, use ag labs if you can understand it. Soil Kit is helping consumers who don't know how to interpret pounds per acre and other different languages. We try to break it down, but we definitely work with Auburn.
We translate it.
We help translate.
One of the things you did mention though is water in your lawn. How long is this water sitting on your Zoysia?
It's not sitting, it's running to the driveway. So it drains very, very, very well. It drains very well.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I have an interesting participant that just joined us, Shane Sims, who I am currently holding up his email that we sent today. Shane, thank you for joining us. And would you like to ask your question, or would you like me to ask it for you?
Hey, sorry, running a little late. Just hopped on. Yeah, you can ask. Go ahead.
Okay, Dad. Shane emailed me today, and I was kind of shocked. I was like, I wonder if this guy knows about the Zoysia webinar today, because it's like all about Zoysia. And then when you jumped on, I was like, yep, he got my contact information from this webinar today. Okay, so what we have is Shane. First off, Shane, where are you from? What state are you in?
I'm in North Louisiana.
Okay, what kind of Zoysia you got?
Yeah.
Palisades.
Oh,
I got the good stuff.
Palisades. Yeah. Well, we all know where you got it from. There's only 2 places in Louisiana that sell Palisades. So here is what Mr. Shane has asked. He has asked, I've heard a few different recommendations with Zoysia and the amount of nitrogen needed. I had a soil test completed, and it looks like I need about a 3:1:2 ratio, but was thinking of maxing out at 2 pounds of nitrogen this year. Some university studies say 2 to 4, but I don't want crazy top growth. What do you guys recommend for residential zoysia lawn cut about an inch with a real mower? All right, Dad.
All right.
You
If
weigh
you're
in on nitrogen, and then I'll weigh in on the nitrogen.
you're probably in some heavier soils. North Louisiana is probably good farmland. It probably has a good cation exchange. So when you put your nitrogen out, it probably stays for a long while. If you go down to 2 pounds, it would really be nice if you use a slow release on that. That will help it. You use less nitrogen, and it looks like you're trying to pull back on the nitrogen. And I'm a firm believer in that. That's a great idea. But you might want to split it up some and put it in different times. But your nitrogen on Palisades, what you want is a healthy lawn. You're not looking for the most dark green lawn. I have neighbors in here, and they plant their centipede or zoysia or whatever, and they want the darkest green lawn in the neighborhood. And that I'm not going to go tell them what not that pop their bubble or nothing, but in all reality, they've hurt by within a year or two, they're going to have trouble. So I think that if you're in real sandy soil, you just need to watch the 2 pounds. It may be a little light, but you can supplement that with some iron or sulfur, providing your pH is enough. I mean, then you'll get your green color. What you're looking for is a healthy lawn.
Now, Dad, so we do a nitrogen assignment, and this is a hot debate on nitrogen and so forth. So we do a nitrogen assignment, and we kind of stick with that 2 to 4 inches. However, I do know, and specifically we talk about War Eagle, this is a topic that we talk a lot with Auburn about, is how with zoysia, they're kind of pulling back on a little bit of that nitrogen on the zoysia, and they're doing a lot of studies about it. So it's something that we're watching very closely with what's in development and research right now. So I think you never want to pull back too much, but I think the idea that you're really watching the balance of it is really healthy.
My soil is actually very low CEC. I think it's a 7, I believe.
Then I don't know if the 2 pounds is going to hold up for you.
Okay. That's
I would break it up and maybe put 3 applications in a year. You might could take it up to 3 pounds or 4, but if you have a low CEC, then you don't have very good holding capacity. Do you find that when you get a big rain, it runs off pretty fast?
It does. My soil is like extremely fast draining.
Yeah. I don't, what'll happen if you don't get a lot of rain, it'll stay a lot longer. I would definitely use slow release if you can. And then you may want to go a little bit more than the 2 pounds. You could, if you want to just go 3 pounds or 4 pounds, but do it over a period of time, and then do it with a minor element package with it probably too. But your little sulfur and iron, both of them leach out real fast, just like your nitrogen. Your nitrogen and potash is what leaches real fast. Your phosphate will stay there. It'll move it down about 1 inch a year. But your nitrogen and your potassium, that's why they always go a 3-1-3 ratio, because the nitrogen and potassium is always just leaching out, And so what you're just trying to do is feed it. But your phosphate will stay and it'll keep building up, and you don't want to overdo your phosphate. But I as sandy as that is, I think that, and then don't overwater it. Let it go dry some. It sounds crazy, but it's like a child that you want to learn how to walk, and they struggle over and over trying to get up to walk. Your lawn, once it's established, you needed to let it go dry once in a while. And I'm not talking about 3 weeks without water, nothing like that, but I'm saying that once a week, or even if just let it start to wilt a little bit before you water it, because it needs to shoot its roots down. And especially in that kind of soil, you need your roots to go down as far as they go.
Okay, Dad, while the questions are kind of formulating, I'll try to go through a little bit of this presentation real quick. I'll let Alan can you guys all see my screen?
Hi, Fran. Welcome.
Yes.
Okay, everybody can see this. Can you hear it also?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Woerner Farms. I'm Alan Woerner, a third generation lifetime grower of grass.
Hang on a second. He's a third generation sod grower, but he's a fifth generation farmer. I will clarify that.
Here at Woerner Farms. I want to introduce you to my personal favorite sod, Palisade Zoysia. This Texas bred variety is well known for its medium to coarse texture. Our Palisade Zoysia is tolerant to a variety of soil types and takes root well in most applications. Your kids and pets will love its lush feel, and everyone will appreciate its growth traits. To learn more about Palisade Zoysia and your friends at Woerner Farms, click below. Thanks for watching and keep growing.
All right, so that's my brother.
Somebody has a question there, Christina.
Yeah, we got a question. I apologize. I apologize. Okay, Dad, here's your question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is from Mr. Goodson. How many pounds of nitrogen should I apply on the first application in April, May? Is it 1 pound per application? Okay, and I'm going to weigh in before you do that. And is it 1 pound per application 4 times in the season, which will total 4 pounds a year? Okay, so my weigh in on it is 2 pounds of nitrogen, and the first one at the very least. I'm not afraid of doing it 3 times a year, but you can pull back on that third one because you're getting ready for winterizing. So sometimes I pull back on that third one and put a little bit more of the secret sauce of the potassium to get ready for the winterizing. But all right, Dad, you get to weigh in. Put the nitrogen heavy in the spring and kind of scale back a little bit if people are willing to kind of customize a little bit.
It's like I said, that 2% first application is fine. I do recommend a slow release if it's available, or if it has ammonium sulfate rather than just ammonium nitrate. Your nitrogen comes in different forms, and I would go probably with the 2. But now, if your grass is really thick, let's give it a shot in the spring. It's been sitting there burning up its carbohydrates all winter, and I would say that the 2, and then I might go 1 or 2 in August or September, and then that'd be it.
Yeah, I definitely agree that especially that first one in the spring just needs that little bit of extra fuel and kick. All right, I'm making sure everyone's got talking permissions if they want to chime in. And yes.
So since we're talking about the soil testing, and that one of the questions that I asked you back in the fall, and when people use your kits or any of their kits, they'll see that the recommendations for different micros and macros are different based on the kits that they get.
Yep.
And your answer to how you came about your recommendation guidelines kind of blew me away. So can you talk about how you came to your guidelines? And again, this is why I was like, all right, this is the only kit that I'm using for Zoysia from now on, because I know these people know Zoysia, A to Z.
So I use a private lab, which is Waters Lab, because I'm a for-profit business and I need to operate with a for-profit business. However, I did my studies with Auburn University and with Dad, and I actually went and got a retired extension officer. And I said, all right, here's the deal. I want all of you guys to look at this. And I said, a Zoysia lawn homeowner is different than Dad when he's out at the farm. And so I need to know that when I'm making soil kit recommendations, that number 1, it's based and backed by science. Number 2, a farmer was involved. The number 3, an extension officer in a land grant university was involved to be able to show me the difference between a commercial production push farmer versus a homeowner. And a bunch of us sat at the table and actually saw at different states and went to different land grant universities in different states and talked to different leadership in those roles. and came up with a pretty good consensus. So I call it our secret sauce. So number one, we'll do like a Mylic 1 or a Mylic 3 extraction, and I stand behind that. So I use a National Ag Lab, and that's what we use, and that's what farmers use, and that's what we stand behind as our extraction method. Number two, my Zoysia soil samples that I do for my homeowners at Soil Kit are different than the crop codes that Dad sends for his Zoysia. We both use the same lab. Dad uses Waters Ag Lab, and they have a geosatellite and a fancy grid system, and their tractors are GPS, and everything is so fancy. But Dad's a farmer, Dad's a producer. He wants to grow it. He's got a staff out there. He wants it this way. I want it nice and beautiful. I want it low maintenance. I want a totally different crop code. So when your soil arrives at Soil Kit at the Waters Ag Lab, it will go through Mylic 3 or Mylic 1 extraction, and we will produce the results according to that you're a homeowner and it's a maintenance level. That was
Let me explain something though. He's mentioning the minor elements. And the way I would address that, there's a lot of research being done on that right now. And we apply it through the fertilizer. But if we find a deficiency during the growing season and you don't need to put out other fertilizer, they have found that using a liquid miners, they get better results from it, especially things like copper. Copper would take 10 years to break down. You only get a little bit every year. There's certain of these metals are real slow. And so if you have a deficiency, I would put it out, my microblend in the spring. And then if I had a deficiency, I would do a supplemental liquid during the growing season. And you will find that that's where the university and the land grant, everybody's research is going to now at this point.
I'm reading this real quick, making sure, okay. So that's why my nitrogen is low for the last two. That explains my problem because I've been applying half a pound for at least 2 years. Okay. All right. So I was making sure we were addressing the questions. So one thing that Soil Kit is moving into, Brian, there's actually a couple different things that we're moving into in the future. We're going to become that living plant tag, like when you go to a garden center and there's a plant and there's that little tag that sits out beside it. I always make a point to take that tag out of the little plastic thing and put it down next to the plant when I plant it, so that I know, number one, that I in fact planted a blueberry bush. Number two, how tall is it going to get, how much sun, and all the different details on that. Soil Kit is going to begin to morph into a living plant tag. So we're super excited about that rollout, meaning as you're a Zoysia, we'll begin to nudge you. So don't, it's all going to be the same products. The physical products never going to change. But don't be surprised that as you use Soil Kit over the next year, if you may get a nudge that says, hey, Mr. Goodson, your zip code is a Birmingham zip code. You've been 90 plus temperatures. You've gotten 5 inches of rain over the last week. We feel like you're susceptible to a fungus right now. Please be very, very careful. Keep an eye out for a fungus in your yard. So we'll become more of a living plant tag. And then also one thing that we're working on really heavily right now is we are doing studies of carbon sequester. So it's really important to us to show the power of fertile soil and how it is actually pulling that carbon out, putting it in the soil, and putting that carbon to work for good. And so we're looking at doing a carbon meter to help show the algorithms that are going into it. So stand by for that. That's going to be a super addition that you'll see coming out. Now, question from Mr. Goodson. Will your soil results give macro and micro results? It does. It does. And now, mind you, we give kind of a generalized, here's what you need. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to customized fertilizers, it doesn't exist. It would be the perfect world if I could say, okay, Mr. Goodson, these are your results. Show up to this kiosk, put your QR code, and we'll blend everything perfectly together for you in a package and send you home. Unfortunately, our regulations do not let us do that. I think that's the perfect world, and that's not where we are. We kind of give you some good generic results of where you should be. However, during the treatment recommendations, if you look in the section of pounds per 1,000 square foot, all of them will be exactly laid out. So should you want to go buy them very individually, you'll be able to have those exactly for you. We try to give you a good overall recommendation at the top with a couple bags and so forth. But of course, it's not customized specifically. We try to get it as good as possible. Where can I find your company's fertilizer for Zoysia? Oh, for Zoysia, I'll tell you this, it's the Woerner Sunshine Blend. It's my favorite. I was a part of the customization of it. I'm very proud of that one. It's over at the Birmingham store, and they sell it online at Woerner.com. So it's the Sunshine Blend. The Performance Blend is more targeted to the Bermuda and the St. Augustine nitrogen push. The Zoysias and the Centipede, we pull back the nitrogen a little bit, and it is a nice, sweet little mix. And it's the Woerner Sunshine Blend.
Right. Let me mention too about the minor elements now, because really you asked a science-based question about it. What you want when you get your minor elements, you want to make sure that it's a chelated minor element. What it is, they've oxidized it or whatever. It's made it where the plant can uptake it. And so it's been, I don't know, they have a process of oxygen, water, and all that, and they create the breakdown of those metals and minors. And so you always want to use a chelated minor element. And that's just a scientific, but usually you're wherever you buy it, if you buy it in a liquid form or in your fertilizer, it should state that, because if you don't, you may get it in a cheaper form that ends up not even being usable. You could test, you do a soil test and it'll show it, but it's not even showing this in a chelated form that's usable.
All right. While we're looking at the various questions, I'll move on to the next slide. Let's see. Okay, of course, soil kit. And I know you guys are familiar with that. Just a quick little, I'll run over. So the things we test for: pH, and actually if you see down here, buffer pH, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, manganese, iron, copper, boron, CEC, and organic matter. Everything's included, the postage, the actual bag. And of course, when they see that brown bag with soil kit on it, they know what test you're ordering. It's not just a basic one, it's actually a tiered up 3. And everything's already ordered for you. We even provide Google satellite imagery to help you drop your square feet to calculate that. So it's very specific. We also now do the wildlife plots. I'm going to let you guys watch a quick little how it works video.
While some soil kit packages come with a trowel, all soil kits come with a sample bag, prepaid mailing envelope, customer care card, and instructions. Whether you obtain your soil kit from an online source or one of our retailers or landscape partners, testing always starts with registration, which connects your soil sample and test results to you and your email address. To register, visit soilkit.com/register. Enter your email address and name and the kit ID found on your sample bag. You can also scan the QR code using your mobile device. Next, identify your sample location by entering your address or using our geolocation technology. You can add a description such as front yard or backwoods food plot when submitting multiple samples. Next, enter the size in square feet of the area your soil sample represents, so we can accurately calculate fertilizer application rates. If you aren't sure, use our satellite-guided sizing tool. In most cases, we recommend 1 kit for every 10,000 square feet. After that, choose the type of crop or grass you are cultivating and confirm your registration. Now it's time to take your soil sample. Be sure to use a stainless steel or plastic trowel to avoid metal contamination. If your soil has been recently fertilized, you'll need to wait for 2 weeks before sampling. In choosing 4 sample locations, try to evenly distribute them across the sample area and avoid wet spots. Collect 2 scoops of soil at each location, 2 to 4 inches from the soil surface. Ensure the dirt has reached close to, but not beyond the fill line. Seal the sample bag by bending the tabs. We recommend you write your name on the sample bag. Then put your sample bag into the prepaid mailing envelope. Seal the envelope and send. Be sure to keep your customer care card, as it includes your kit ID number for reference. Within 36 hours of receipt, our certified lab team will calculate your soil amendment needs and send you an email with a link to your test results. The View My Results link will take you to soilkit.com, where you can log in to your dashboard. If you haven't already created an account, the system will prompt you to create one. If you have multiple tests, you will see a list of them. Click on the test results you are interested in. At the top of the results page, you'll find details about the partner who provided your soil kit. If you purchased online, you'll find a link to one of our online fertilizer partners. Below that will be easy to understand fertilizer recommendations, calculated for you based on your results, the sample area size, and the products available from the partner from whom you obtained soil kit. You'll also find simple application instructions, followed by detailed lab information showing you nutrient level versus ideal levels for the crop or grass type you are cultivating. At the bottom of the report, you may also find a marketing message from your retailer or landscaper, or from one of our online partners. Now you can share your results with your landscaper or local lawn and garden center to obtain the amendments recommended. If you purchased your soil kit online, simply click through the product recommendations and purchase your amendments online. Remember, healthy soil starts with a lab-based soil test.
Okay, Dad, so we've got a couple questions. Before I continue with those questions, I have to ask, Mr. Goodson, did you do okay in the weather last night?
Yes, yes, I did. A law enforcement officer I am. So we had some damages in certain areas, but my home area where my lawn is, it turned out okay. It was just over a lot of running water. The ground was saturated, so water rises to the top when it's saturated. So I did okay.
Good. Very good. Okay, so Mr. Bryan has informed us of a couple questions, Dad.
Right.
And we're going to talk about my favorite one. And because my baby was a baby girl chocolate lab. So question is, I have a mail-in question about dog urine fix. And here, my husband's solution was, why did you buy a female lab? Dad, what's your fix?
You want me to solve that one then? I have actually brought up to University of Florida some of their professors and their breeding where they're genetically trying to. And so we sent a questionnaire out and said, what are the questions you'd like for a real beautiful lawn? What do you see? What do you want? And what shocked me, and I didn't even see it coming, was, well, what about a dog-friendly lawn? And we have found that to be over and over and over again. That is a big deal. And honestly, whenever they urine and stuff, I mean, usually you'll have a little dead spot and then a dark green spot. And I don't know. I almost say water it, but if you got heavy soil, then you just compound it. But you need to dilute it somehow.
Yep.
I don't really. I can't tell you that I have a real answer for that one.
Needless to say, our
some of the in the question.
Do what?
In the question that was emailed in, they mentioned some people have said gypsum may help, and also using humic 12. So I don't know if you've had any experience or know if those would assist.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to look into this, and then we'll try to have this answered. We'll try to have that available. What the gypsum does is you're able to raise the calcium, and what it does is, in science, there's these positives and negatives, and the gypsum breaks the soil apart. If it's hard and compact, the gypsum will actually push against each other, and it begins to open the soil. And then when you rain, it allows it to go through, and you're not compounding the magnesium and other elements that some dolomite comes with. and you're not really raising your pH level, but the gypsum is it has some sulfur in it, and it does do a lot of good. You know that when you plant a really small seed, these vegetable planters that be planting lettuce or whatever, if they don't hand plant, they'll take a strip of gypsum and run right across the top. And what it does is it keeps the crust off of the land. It actually keeps the land soft where the seed can come up through it and don't hit that hard crust. And I would think that gypsum actually could be, I mean, from a science-based stand, I mean, it makes sense that it would open the soil, and what it does then, it lets air in, it allows some of that to evaporate and gives us some breathing room. And then if you put some water in, it'll help dilute it down. I think gypsum may be something that the humic acid you're creating, that's a natural thing that's used to digest a lot of things. So both of them could be a solution, help anyhow, but typically the concentration of it is pretty strong.
Now, Brian, do you want to talk about the scalping and controlling of Bermuda?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that I've seen a lot on the Facebook group lately is questions about scalping. And I'm pretty sure the consensus is that scalping in the spring is a good idea. I don't know if you can do it on a sod farm. I hate doing it to my yard. It just takes forever and is a mess. But I guess do you do it on a sod farm? And also kind of what is the point of scalping?
Only on Bermuda. I don't like scalping a lot of things because you're hurting the stolons, but on Bermuda, typically before you overseed, you'll mow it down real tight, sweep it up, and then your rye or whatever you're putting on top of your overseed will have a lot of room to hit the ground and germinate. Other than that, I know in St. Augustine and other things, I don't recommend scalping. I would recommend though in the wintertime, if your lawn got too high and too thick, that you actually bring it down during the winter or right before spring. You actually mow it down lower and then make sure that you clean the thatch off of it. You don't want to leave that there because that's high silica. It's just going to create more problems than ever. But if I was going to do it, I would do it in early spring, either pre green up or not much. But when it's in the summer and all that, I would definitely not recommend it whatsoever.
Yeah, I think in the context that most people are talking about is in the spring, during early green up, is not scalping it to the ground, but, taking it down, half of what their desired cut height is.
You're just what it's mounting to do is you're actually getting some of the thatch out of it, giving a little more room to grow. I can see it, but when you start hitting the stolons, you need to be careful then at that point. But whatever you do, you need to bag it up. Don't leave it in there. I mean, that thatch will hurt you.
Yeah. And that's what I hate. Man, I fill my truck up twice with so much of that stuff.
I've seen it used commercially in the farms. We will mow it down, Bermuda down in the fall, and we'll vacuum it up and we'll take it down almost to the dirt and we'll overseed. And that gives the seed opportunity to come up. But, I think if you mow it down and you put some sand on it, you'd be surprised. Don't go into the stolen or the runners. I mean, I would not do that.
Right.
So I was listening to Alan, which is my brother and dad's son, and he was talking to actually somebody from Birmingham that works for, I think, Balchin and Bingham. And he was asking that same question on how to best level out his yard. And Alan was like, take it down and scalp it and then put a light layer of white sand over, but it was only for Bermuda. So Alan was kind of counseling that same advice also. But he likes to do it when that grass is really actively growing so that you can scalp it, put the sand down, and it kind of rebounds real fast. He likes it. He prefers that his scalping's done in July. That's per Alan, just so you know. He's not here to defend himself or his answer.
All right, so on the Bermuda control, there's been quite a few questions that have popped up lately in the group about controlling Bermuda, which is kind of infesting into zoysia lawns, and how to control that. And obviously, we as homeowners don't have access to a lot of the same chemicals that you may have on the sod farm, but what potentially could be done to help control Bermuda infestation.
I think a healthy lawn is your first step. Don't let your grass get too thatchy and stuff. What I have found that if you keep it healthy, your zoysia will actually overtake the Bermuda. But if you're starting to get unhealthy soil and unhealthy situation, that Bermuda is going to take over. It's kind of like a weed. I mean, if you're growing a crop and your soil and everything is unhealthy, everything's going bad, the weeds will outgrow the crop. But if it's a healthy crop and you get a jump start on it, the crop should outgrow the weeds. And Bermuda and zoysia, I think there's a lot at play right there, but there is things that we can use on the farm. And I don't know if they're, I bet you your landscaper or somebody that's certified that can spray, that has a license. I think the name of the one we use is Drive. It'll kill torpedo grass out of zoysia. And I think it does a little bit. Now, there's some zoysias that you can use what we call Fusilade. And the Fusilade will burn the zoysia, but it'll smoke the Bermuda. But I don't, you really got to find out what variety, and is that variety very resistant to the Fusilade. And
Yeah,
I'm giving you
the
ag name now. And but you're certified. The people that carry the license to spray lawns, there's going to be a lawn label on these products.
Yeah, I think I've heard there's another member in the group who said he has had success using Fusilade. I imagine it's probably expensive, but
not really. It's been out for a while now, so the price of it. But to the homeowner, because of it being into a community and into the city, there's a higher cost to it. But Fusilade on zoysia, on certain varieties of zoysia. Now I have heard that it doesn't do on certain others. So I really think you need to find out what zoysia you got and do some research on that before you put Fusilade out on it.
Yeah, and that brings up another question. Something that I've seen recently is Poa annua control, since that's popping up a lot right now. Personally, I recommend Image because that's a readily available. It works really slow. Of course, it comes down to your pre-emergence and getting those down correctly in the fall. But any advice on Poa annua?
You know what? The universities every year have big studies on Poa annua because it is everywhere and everybody battles it.
Yep.
I would stay with Image, but the thing is, don't let it ever go to seed. If it ever goes to seed, it just keeps coming back. You got to keep it. You prevent it from coming up, but your Image, this whenever it comes up, the sooner you get it, the easier it is to kill. Once it gets more mature, it gets a lot harder to kill.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and might be happening with not only myself, but someone in the group as well. Is I put down 2 applications of Image, and it's just not putting a dent in it, and I think it's just too mature at this point. So I've just been hand pulling what I can.
Yeah, you got to get it. You got to get it when it's young.
So I have one more question from somebody that sent it in. Georgia, this one's more aimed towards you, and it's kind of an interesting question. I've thought of before. After you, oh geez, what does it say? After you harvest the sod, the zoysia sod, how long does it take to regrow before you can harvest it again?
That's it's a very interesting question because it depends on where you're at in the zone that you're in. It's the amount of hours of heat and sunlight and right here right on the Gulf of Mexico, every 12 months on Palisades. Now, some varieties like the Z52 or the Meyer, that's much slower. It's going to take at least a year and almost a half. Emerald slower. And so what it amounts to is we have so many warm days. Now, if you go to Birmingham or North Alabama, I noted in Tennessee, we can grow a crop of just say Palisades. We're going to grow at 40% probably faster. Because once you get up to Tennessee, your growing period of time then from there to I would say Chicago, there's not many weeks different. That the whole country tends to warm up all at once there. So it's in the further south you go, you could almost get to 10 months. It depends on what kind of zoysia it is. But some of the older varieties are much longer. They're like your Z52 or your Meyer. It'll take.
Now, Dad,
minimum.
when we were down in Cuba, how fast were they growing theirs in? Because they were doing some superior growing time.
We've had it growing in 6 months. We have some crops come in 6 months. And in Cuba, they don't have as much. They're using more natural fertilizers and different things. They're using some very interesting technology. If you want to know organics, they have got a lot of research, and we are good friends with the Ag Lab there in Matanza, and the dean of the college there is a good friend of ours. And they'll go to an area like if you was in, let's just say you was in St. Louis, they're going to go into some areas of real good soil, pull the soil up, and then they're going to grow out the microbes that are healthy microbes. And they will grow it out. And for your area, that you spray them microbes back on your soil, and they use very little fertilizer because it's just hard for them to get it. Now, if they ever get where they can bring in more fertilizer, I would say that it would be 6 to 8 months. Typically, it's more than just 6 growing months. It takes about eight growing months, but if you got everything right, you can get it in 6 months. But I'm gonna say just if you start in October, it's gonna be next August. It's all in wind and the amount of heat. It's heat elements and sunshine. That's what that determines. But I would say we're on a 12-month cycle here, right on the Gulf of Mexico.
Dad, I have to say you jumped everywhere from like 6 months to 12 months.
Well, we had it just perfect. We put it in and got it. I was telling you what the true cycle is 12 months, but we have grown it in 6.
Yes.
So I apologize for that.
No, we were getting way too in the science. I had to throw like a little joke just to see if everybody's still awake. I mean, is everybody still awake?
It's like farmers do a lot of that. One farmer got 125 bushel corn. He thinks he's something, and the next one got 175 bushel, and neither one of them telling the truth.
Well, Dad, we're kind of starting to wind up on less than 15 minutes left. So why don't we take a couple more great questions and then wish all this group the best. This has been fun to really talk about zoysia, because zoysia is my favorite grass. It used to be St. Augustine, zoysia. So Mr. Goodson, we love you too. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you're our Alabama fan, and we can service you so great here in Alabama. But let's see if we got any other questions. Anybody got 1 or 2 more questions? Brian, you got 1 or 2? I asked Mr. Shane, he jumped on and then jumped off. So those are all my questions
Hey,
I've got.
Brian,
tonight.
I'd like to know from Brian, I've never seen moss and zoysia before. Have you determined exactly where the moss come from and what caused it? I think it's probably water, but I'd like to know if you found the actual reason.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's because of the water. The area, and here in Central Virginia, Richmond area, we have Richmond clay. It's just dense, and this time of year it just rains. It doesn't dry out for quite a while. So I'm pretty sure it's from that. The area where it was is pretty small. It's only like 1 square foot, and the zoysia is pretty thin there. It's Xeon. I think it got chemical damage last year, which thinned it out a little bit, so that it's pretty much bare dirt where it is, a little spot. So I think it's just a combination of the turf health and the soil being exposed, and then the wetness.
Okay. It's amazing. Sometimes zoysia will have these, what I always call hot spots, but there's something that caused that dead spot. It could have been an insect at one time, and then the ground's real hard, or it's too wet, or, things get out of balance, and it's just hard to get it to come back. But I'll tell you what would help you, and is some sand. I'd oversee it with a little bit of sand, let that zoysia grow back across it. I think you'll find that it'll heal up.
Yeah, I think it'll heal up. I think that got damaged late in the season. So I'm not worried about it. That's in the front yard. I plan on sanding the backyard this year, which has Empire, because that's really bumpy back there. Yeah, so I don't want to kill myself on sanding.
I get it. Really, if you sand once every 3, 4, 5 years, just when you see us getting depleted down, you sand it, get all your nutrients back in place. It'll come back to life and it'll be good for 10 more years. A zoysia lawn's good for 30, 40 years if you take care of it right.
Yeah, so let me ask you this on the sanding as well. I was thinking, should I aerate and then sand so that the sand kind of fills down into some of the holes, or does it? Okay.
Yeah, you got time to do it. That's good too. Yes, it's always good to aerate.
Okay.
Dad, you want to tell the funny story of the first time I realized somebody aerated their lawn? I thought the Canadian geese had just gone nuts on the lawn. And I was like, look what those birds have done to the grass. And Dad was like, come on, Christina. So needless to say, I learned real young what aerate meant, and it was not from the Canadian geese. All right, guys. So Mr. Goodson, while we still have you on here, just so everyone knows, everyone gets $5 off by using the promo code Zoysia Life, and make sure to click the link that is in Brian's Zoysia Life. There's a link there that he has to Soil Kit. So click that link and use the promo code Zoysia Life. You get $5 off. As well as Mr. Goodson, since you're so close to Birmingham, please let Jim and Scott know that you spoke to George and Christina on the Zoysia Life webinar, and we'll make sure to give you a little police discount for you.
Yes, well, I signed up for when I purchased your 2 soil kits through a Facebook post. I think I did it through my son's Facebook page. I said, hey, y'all, I didn't get the discount because it didn't take. And then somebody said, hey, let me check that out. And they had to go back and ask the administrator, did you put that code in there right? That was me. But anyway, I wasn't looking for the refund, but I just enjoy you all service. That's the main thing. I enjoy you all service. So the $5.
Well, how about this, Mr. Goodson? I will put a free soil kit in the mail to you. And then when you go to the Woerner Landscape store, I'm going there this weekend. I will put you on an email. I will make sure I get that. I will send that over to Scott and Jim to be on the lookout for a police discount for you. How about that?
Well, thank you, ma'am. I'm not looking forward. I'm just excited to be a part of this, your service. And I hope I learn a lot from your fertilizers to help my grass reestablish itself.
Well, we are here to take care of Brian's group. So we appreciate
Thank you.
Brian talking with us and collaborating with us. So we appreciate all of these Facebook groups and you guys. And anybody else have any questions? We're wrapping up here at the last couple minutes of the webinar. Looking, I don't see any other pending questions. Y'all got anything else for us? Or are we calling it a night?
Somebody's knocking on the door. I'm gonna go get it opened up.
Oh my gracious. Oh,
Hey, Christina, this has been awesome. I appreciate it. You guys are the best. Can you tell everyone where they can buy your buy the soil kits? And I know you had mentioned the Facebook group, but don't you have some news? Maybe you guys are going to be available somewhere else. Something maybe from a TV show. I don't know if you're able to save that or share that news or not.
No, so we are so thrilled. We actually have some really great news coming out in about 2 weeks, but we can go ahead and release. So I don't know if you guys are aware of Shark Tank, but Damon John of Shark Tank loves our product and helped mentor our products. We made it with Lowe's. They loved us. They did an initiative where they wanted to give back to small businesses. And my business is we're majority owned. I have a couple different owners, but one of them is my mom, one's my sister, Angela, one's my sister, Kimberly. We're a majority owned woman ag tech business. So Lowe's put out an initiative during COVID to give back to small businesses with a focus on minority. And I applied, and a friend of mine, Valerie, does our marketing. She was from Texas. It was a couple days after Sally. I had 4 kids. I had 3 trees on my house. I had no power, no internet. I couldn't even find food. And luckily the office, it was flooded, but it did have power internet. We went up to the office, we applied, and the CEO, Marvin, mentored us, chose us as number 2 in the nation as a product. Yeah, so super excited. Marvin is wonderful, CEO of Lowe's. He saw the value in our product and wanted to share it with the nation, and they are mentoring us. So to be on standby, you're going to see a package change. Which I didn't anticipate sharing this with Damon John and Marvin. So I kind of felt like I was half naked when I showed him my product. I was like, oh my gosh, I only thought this was only going to be for dad's customers. So they're providing great feedback. Like, you're not really showing people science is behind this and how valuable it is. So they're helping us do a package redesign. And we have a great marketing firm, Strategic Playground, that is helping us along the way also. So we're very flattered. And stay tuned. Within about like a month, you're going to see a great feature where you plug into your extension office. Here, we're going to roll out with a pilot program in Alabama. So stay tuned. We love our extension officers. We love our extension offices. And we want to draw people back to the extension office and plug in for knowledge and research. So stay tuned for a further announcement in 2 weeks.
Great.
But we appreciate it, you guys. Thanks. You guys are great. You're wonderful.
Thank you to Brian.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks to your father, and thanks to you. I've learned a lot just on this first time invite, and I hope many more to come.
All
Thanks.
right.
We appreciate it. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Mr. Goodson. Thanks, Crystal, Liz, and Valerie, and everybody else, and Michael. Thanks, you guys. We appreciate it. Y'all have a great night. Oh, and Graham's joining in at the last minute. Graham, you're late to the party. I see you're sneaking in at the end. Look at you. You were coming in at the very end to sneak in.
Yeah.
He's our main Zoysia girl right now.
Yeah, who knew? The real talent.
Yeah, he's the real talent. He
Comes
knows
in
more than I
at
know.
T-minus 5 minutes left in the webinar, and the real guy for the talent to answer these questions pops in. Well, Graham,
take care of.
Well, we're wrapping up the webinar. We really appreciate it, Brian. Thank you for having us as speakers, and we appreciate tonight. Call us anytime. Anything we can do to help your group, let us know.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.
All
Bye,
right,
everybody.
Bye-bye.